I'm here with Joshua Bell, who is our Instrumentalist of the Year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we're delighted that he can be here, and we're just going to talk a little bit about his background and all the wonderful things that he's done in his very short life. I was just telling Josh that I interviewed him many, many, many years ago when he was still a teenager, and everybody called him a prodigy. And it's sort of interesting to me that he's managed to continue the momentum of his career without ever really having a problem making that transition. So I wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, one hears a lot about this difficulty of making the transition. I never thought of it as being a transition. I never had a transition. I feel like it's been a constant sort of learning process, being a musician, hopefully still getting better. But I never felt like there was a threshold to get over. Other people talked about that, but I think part of the reason why I've sort of stayed mentally healthy, you might say, as a kid, because that is not always easy.
Right.
I think I just had good guidance, good managers that weren't trying to squeeze every dollar out of me that they could. You know, they paced. I didn't play 100 concerts a year my first season touring. You know, I just kind of worked my way up, and my parents were involved, but very happy when I was competing in tennis tournaments and doing other things outside of music. So I think I had a good perspective on it, and always enjoyed it. I think the main thing is for me is that it was always something I did because I loved playing, and it was not because of pressures from teachers. My teacher Joseph Gingold, was like a grandfather, and I just wanted to play music because he loved it so much. And so he wasn't involved in careers and arranging auditions and things. He was just sat in his room and taught me whenever I'd come in, and so music was always a very positive thing.
Yeah. You talk about his style and how you have, and it's in your playing. It really is apparent that you're unafraid to have that great big lush, warm, romantic sound, which was sort of his. Or
I don't know I wouldn't characterize my playing or his necessarily as a lush romantic sound. I think because I can think of others that have more of that. For me, what I think would characterize his playing was he was connected to the really old school of playing. Not just him being lush and romantic. It was for me, at least when I think of his sound and the way he made music, it was the timing and the subtlety of rubato that I associate with him, with Fritz Kreisler and with Elman and Heifetz and this generation that I was so lucky to be exposed to through him, because he knew them. He played 78 records of Kreisler for me as a 12-year-old, you know.
Really?
And so I felt like that was part of my world, and so I feel very close to that way of playing. It's hard to describe, but we might just call it the old world sound, which if I have a little bit of that left over, I would be very, very happy if some of that came through into my playing.
Well, you certainly have a warm sound.
Thank
you.
It's well, I think I'm not going to speak about my sound, but Gingold, my teacher, certainly I had for him, beauty of sound was very important, and just never to let a note go by that was ugly or sounded bad. And I think he had a beautiful Stradivarius, and I remember he had the sweetest sound, not the biggest sound, not a big lesson, but the very sweet sound that I will always remember as being the most beautiful sound that I'd ever heard and have heard since. And so I think the ideal of beauty and caressing every note for him was just so important. And whether it's Bach or Mozart or Wieniawski and Sarasate, he gave me a love for a lot of these, or Fritz Kreisler. I mean, he gave me a love for the violin virtuoso repertoire that today actually is neglected somewhat, and back in his day, this was the bread and butter of violinists.
Yeah. We were recently, Josh and I were at the White House, and you were just saying you were just there last week. Was that another concert?
I was there last week for the Kennedy Center Honors, which
that's right.
Every year I'm on the committee that chooses the honorees, so I get the perk of going to the White House for the reception every year. But when I saw you a month ago, it was for an event with young people and that came from around the country, and I was happy to see the White House opening themselves up for educational things, and certainly keeping music in the front because it's one of the things in my spare time, being around kids, organizations that gets music into schools, and I'm involved with Education Through Music, which is a great organization that installs musical programs into schools that don't have them, and I love to see that when that happens.
Yeah. Well, listen, thank you very much, and many congratulations.
Thank you for the honor for
yes.
Musical America. It's really a treat and a privilege, so thank you.
Yeah.